Ah, yes, all. So moving on to our final lesson of this week. And what we're going to look at is the rule regarding times and dividing by 1 and 0. Now, there are two different rules that relate to this one. They are nice and straightforward and nice and simple. We just need to think about why they work, and then we don't have to think about it again because we've got that understanding. So the first one we're going to look at is timesing and dividing by 1. We're going to start off with timesing. Now, I've got two questions here. Have a go at seeing if you can complete the sentences and see what you think this shows us. Pause now. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've got down here. We've got two different ways of looking at it and the way we do it. So the first off is there are how many ones, and we've got 6 ones here. So the first bit would start with this. There are 6 ones. So that would be how many ones we have. We have 1 6 times or 6 1 times. In this case, we have 1 6 times. And the answer is 6. So 1 times 6 is 6. This is still timesing by 1, and we find the answer, what we times by, doesn't change. We look on the other side here, and there is 1 6. Okay, that's one pneumaton of 6. So we have 6, and we have 1 of them, so we're timesing it by 1, and the answer is 6. So it doesn't matter whether we are timesing 1 by number or we're timesing by 1, both end up the answer being whatever it is we're timesing by 1. The number doesn't change. That's our rule. So let's have a look at dividing by 1. We know that our rule when timesing by 1 is whatever we times by 1 is the same as whatever it is. It doesn't change. So let's look at dividing by 1 and see how that works out. There are 2 questions on the board. Have a go, see what you can do, and then I'll explain to you. Pause now. Okay, so the first one says, 3 counters are shared between 3 hands. How many counters does each hand have? So here are the 3 hands, and then we share those 3 counters between each hand. Each one has 1. So if I divide the number by itself, 3 divided by 3, the answer is going to be 1. In the other case, we've got there are 4 counters and it's shared between 1 hand. How many counters does the hand have? In this case, dividing by 1, and all of them go into the 1 hand. So the number stays the same. The hand has 4 counters, and so 4 divided by 1 equals 4. We've actually got 2 rules going on here. The first is what happens when we divide by 1, and we can see that the number stays the same. The second rule we've got is when you divide a number by itself, it always equals 1. And these are 2 very, very useful rules to remember because they help us understand what happens in either of these 2 cases. The final thing we're going to look at is what happens when you divide or times by 0 or times by 0 particularly. So we've got 2 questions here. The first question is Ishmael wants to start collecting football stickers. They come in packs of 8. He hasn't bought any yet. How many stickers does he have? And the next one says, Chelsea says, I know how to multiply any number by 0, any number at all. Can you explain how this is possible and give 2 possible examples? Pause now and try. Okay, so let's break down these answers very, very quickly. The first one says that Ismail has no football stickers. He hasn't started yet. So he hasn't bought any, he's got none. Okay, so he has 0. They come in packs of 8. So he has 8 lots of nothing or no lots of 8. If he has none, he has none. So when you times by 0, the answer is always 0 because you have none of that lot that you're talking about. It doesn't matter if we have it as 0 times 8 or 8 times 0, the answer is still 0. Because if I've got 8 and I want none of them, I've still got none of them. Or if I've got nothing and I have 8 lots of nothing, I still have nothing. So when we times by 0, the answer is 0. Question 2, how does she know that she's multiplying any number by 0? Well, she always knows that it is 0. And all you're trying to do as a proof here is give some examples. So you could do 4 times 0 equals 0. You could do 347 times 0 equals 0. It's the same. It doesn't matter. All you're doing is giving as many examples as you possibly can. But the knowledge you have is when you times by 0, the answer is always 0. So here are our questions for this week. There's a few timesing by 0. There's a few timesing by 1s in there. There's a few explain what you can see. There's comparing going over here. There's also dividing by itself, numbers dividing by itself. Have a go, see what you can do, and I'll see you in the next